Now we shall begin exploring our topic. A detailed examination of American history from the early ages. Introduction. The history of America is a vast and complex narrative that spans thousands of years. Beginning with the indigenous peoples who first inhabited the continent and continuing through European exploration, colonization, the formation of the United States, and the development of the modern nation. This examination delves into the key phases of American history, offering a comprehensive overview of significant events and developments. Pre-Columbian era before 1492. Long before European explorers arrived, the Americas were home to numerous indigenous civilizations. Native American tribes and advanced societies, such as the Mississippian culture, the ancestral Puebloans, and the Iroquois Confederacy, developed complex political structures, agricultural systems, and trade networks. These societies built impressive structures such as Cahokia in present-day Illinois and Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. European exploration and colonization 1492 to 1607. Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492, sponsored by Spain, marked the beginning of sustained European contact with the Americas. Spanish explorers such as Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered vast indigenous empires in South and Central America. Meanwhile, English, French, and Dutch explorers sought to establish colonies in North America. The early 1600s saw the establishment of permanent European settlements, including the Spanish colony of St. Augustine 1565 in Florida and the English colony of Jamestown 1607 in Virginia. The French, focusing on trade, established settlements in Canada and along the Mississippi River. Colonial America 1607 to 1776. The English colonies in North America developed into three distinct regions: New England, the Middle Colonies, and the Southern Colonies. Each had its economic and social characteristics, from the Puritan religious communities in Massachusetts to the plantation economies of Virginia and South Carolina, which relied heavily on enslaved labor. Tensions between the British Crown and the colonies grew throughout the 18th century. Key events, such as the French and Indian War 1754 to 1763, the Stamp Act 1765, and the Boston Tea Party 1773, fueled colonial resentment. The growing demand for independence culminated in the American Revolution 1775 to 1783, led by figures such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. The American Revolution and the Birth of a Nation 1776 to 1789. The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, asserted the colony's separation from Britain. The Revolutionary War, fought against the British, ended in victory for the American colonies with the Treaty of Paris 1783. The newly independent United States faced the challenge of forming a stable government, which led to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in 1787 and its ratification in 1789, replacing the weaker Articles of Confederation. The Early Republic and Expansion 1789 to 1848. The early years of the United States saw the establishment of political institutions under the leadership of the first president, George Washington. Debates between Federalists and Democratic Republicans shaped the young nation's political landscape. The Louisiana Purchase 1803 under President Thomas Jefferson doubled the size of the country, spurring westward expansion. The War of 1812 against Britain reinforced American nationalism, while the Monroe Doctrine 1823 signaled a growing American influence in the Western Hemisphere. The concept of manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were destined to expand across the continent, led to territorial acquisitions such as Texas 1845 and Oregon 1846 and fueled conflicts with Mexico, culminating in the Mexican-American War 1846 to 1848. The Civil War and Reconstruction 1861 to 1877. The expansion of slavery became a divisive issue, leading to sectional tensions between the North and the South. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860 triggered the secession of Southern states, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War 1861 to 1865 was fought over the preservation of the Union and the issue of slavery. The war ended with the Union's victory, and the 13th Amendment 1865 abolished slavery. Reconstruction 1865 to 1877 sought to reintegrate the Southern states and grant civil rights to formerly enslaved people. However, resistance from white Southerners led to the rise of segregationist policies and organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. The period ended with the Compromise of 1877, which led to the withdrawal of federal troops from the South and the beginning of the Jim Crow era. Industrialization and the Gilded Age 1877 to 1900. The late 19th century saw rapid industrialization, urbanization, and economic growth. The expansion of railroads, steel production, and technological advancements fueled the rise of industrial giants like John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. However, this era also saw harsh working conditions, economic inequality, and labor unrest, leading to the rise of labor unions and social reform movements. Progressive Era and World Wars 1900 to 1945. The Progressive Era 1900 to 1920 brought significant social and political reforms, including women's suffrage 19th Amendment, 1920, antitrust regulations, and improved working conditions. The United States emerged as a global power following its involvement in World War I 1917–1918. The 1920s, known as the Roaring Twenties, saw economic prosperity and cultural transformation, but this was followed by the Great Depression 1929 to 1939, a severe economic downturn. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal policies sought to alleviate the crisis. World War II 1939 to 1945 brought the U.S. into global conflict following the attack on Pearl Harbor 1941. The Allied victory and the use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki positioned the U.S. as a superpower. The Cold War and Civil Rights Movement 1945 to 1980. Following World War II, the U.S. entered the Cold War with the Soviet Union, marked by ideological, political, and military rivalry. The Korean War 1950 to 1953 and Vietnam War 1955 to 1975 were key conflicts in this period. Domestically, the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X fought against racial segregation and discrimination. Landmark legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, advanced civil rights for African Americans and other marginalized groups. Modern America 1980–present. The late 20th century saw the end of the Cold War 1991, technological advancements, and economic globalization. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, led to the War on Terror, including wars in Afghanistan 2001 and Iraq 2003. Social and political issues, including climate change, healthcare reform, and racial justice, continue to shape the nation. The election of Barack Obama 2008 marked a historic moment as the first African American president. The COVID-19 pandemic 2020 presented unprecedented challenges, while movements such as Black Lives Matter have influenced social policies. Conclusion: American history is a dynamic and evolving narrative shaped by exploration, conflict, innovation, and reform. From indigenous civilizations to the present day, the United States has undergone profound transformations, leaving a lasting impact on global affairs and human history. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more contents like this.